You know the other thing he did in this movie? He did a bunch of weird food things in this movie. Like the way he just took that his grandmother's pie, put a spoon in the middle, and just ate it.
Oh my god,
I
I did
was
like
like,
that.
whoa. And then he was just walking around with the whole pie, and I'm like, you took down a whole pie from the center? That was absolutely ridiculous.
Hi, I'm Danielle,
And I'm Dell.
and this is the Black Catch-Up, where we're catching up on iconic black media we missed out on in our more conservative religious childhood.
Alright, so today we did a Will Smith classic,
Yes.
iRobot.
Yes! What's fun about this one was it came out in 2004, which is almost 20 years ago, and it takes place in 2035, which is coming up in like a little
10,
more than 10
or-
years.
Yeah.
Like 10, 11, 12, like
11, 12, yeah. It's almost
12 years, something like
2023
that?
now, yeah.
Yeah. When we're
Probably
recording it,
2023 when they get out, when this gets out, it'll probably
Yeah.
already be 2023, so Happy
Yeah.
New Year. This will be in like March or something. That'll age very poorly.
But as always, IMDb. In 2035, a technophobic cop investigates a crime that may have been perpetrated by a robot, which leads to a larger threat to humanity. So,
Okay.
yeah. And then I'm also going to say one other thing, which is the 3 laws of robotics, which are what
yeah.
fuel everything. That's like the first thing that shows up when you watch this movie. So why not tell you the 3 laws of robotics? That is pretty... I think it's pretty standard in sci-fi, but they were made by the author Isaac Asimov. And I'm pretty sure in most sci-fi they follow these 3 rules of robotics, or they like make mention of them. So the first law is a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. The second law is that a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And then the third law is a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and second law. So, yeah, those are the 3 laws of robotics, or the 3 laws, or Asimov's laws, that show up a
Yeah.
lot in sci-fi, but like feature heavily in iRobot.
Yeah, maybe I don't watch a lot of sci-fi. I didn't realize those were universal rules, but
I
like
don't-
used elsewhere, I guess. Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of sci-fi either because I don't particularly enjoy it. But I did know that there, like, when it comes to, like, robots and things like that, there tend to be laws so that, like, there's no robot uprising. But then there always is
Yeah.
a robot uprising because someone decides to get slick, and then we
Yeah.
now have, like, a robot taking over the world.
Yeah. But all right. I guess as usual, we'll start off with things we liked about this one.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I'll kick it off. Yeah, I thought Will Smith was his usual likable self.
Yeah.
I thought he kind of fit well in that, like, I don't know, not what's the word, like that very suspicious cop, very like untrusting
Yeah.
cop kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he fit well in that role and kind of, I guess, kept the tone pretty light. He had like a couple good one-liners, I thought, in this one. Yeah, I just thought he was like just his enjoyable self in this one, so I definitely
Yeah.
enjoyed seeing him in this one.
Yeah, I enjoyed him as well. I thought he lended himself really well to the role. I feel like he plays a cop a lot. Now that I'm thinking
Yeah,
about it.
yeah.
Because, like, he's cop in Bad Boy and Bad Boy 2, which we've unfortunately seen both of.
Yeah.
He was... Men in Black, he's kind of a cop, I think. I feel like he's a cop a lot. But, yeah, he does the role well, so it makes sense that he's often a cop, I guess. One of the things I liked about this movie was some of the parallels they were able to draw within itself. Like, when Spoon had Sonny save him, save the scientist lady over him, just like when in the inciting incident of why he doesn't trust robots, when he's like in that car crash and he tries to get the robot to save the little girl over himself, but then the robot saves him. So it was kind of like a nice little redemption of that little lack of trust to have Sonny save the scientist over him. He kind of had his redemption in that. But yeah, there were just a couple little parallels that like fulfilled themselves later on in the movie, which is always enjoyable.
Yeah, I also thought it was a pretty interesting story overall. Like, I thought they gave him, like, a good background of, like, why he doesn't trust cops. Like, I thought that kind of like
Robots.
drowning
You trust
situation with
cops.
some. Oh yeah, sorry, he doesn't trust robots. So we see where my head's at, you know. But yeah, he doesn't trust robots because of that drowning incident. I thought like the drowning incident was like something that like could happen in a world with robots, where like they do just kind of make that calculation, and something like that happens. And then I also do kind of like how it wasn't really that like the clear humanoid robot that was kind of the big bad. It was that kind of like intelligence system that kind of connected it all and was kind of behind the scenes. So I did think it was just like an interesting story overall, and I also am a fan of not really sci-fi in general, but I do like artificial intelligence, those kind of things. So I feel like I should I don't know, yeah, but I enjoyed this movie for, like just like the idea of this movie.
Yeah, I thought the premise was pretty strong too. I also liked some of the action scenes. They had some pretty good action. The visual effects were actually surprisingly good for 2004. When I was looking at the Wikipedia, apparently this one was nominated for an Oscar and lost out to Spider-Man 2. But I think even now, the visual effects looked pretty good considering when it was like released. But the action scenes, like especially the one where he like takes control of the car and the big corporation has all the robots come in. It's like, you are in the middle of a car crash, and they like are attacking him. Just that huge scene. That was pretty. I didn't like the last fight scene so much, just because there were a lot of like, okay, you're a lot of sci-fi nonsense, but like I did like that.
Oh, you mean like the Revolution, where they all are kind of uprising, that chaotic scene? Or
no, well, sort of that, but then I also didn't like the scene where he caught the nano thing in midair and like jumped to like hit the computer.
Okay.
That was bad. But we'll get into. We still are on positives. My bad.
Yeah. Well, I guess I actually didn't have much else for positives.
The last thing I had was that this is just a small thing, but in general, I always like when the truth is revealed to someone who is easy to discredit, whether it's like him who has his like crusade of robots and everyone knows he has it, so it's like, of course this crazy guy's doing it, or like in Fear the Walking Dead when the druggie is the first one to see the zombies upright. I always like it when the truth is revealed to someone who is like a known, like, untrustworthy source. I always like that.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So I guess finally, do we get into negatives?
Yeah, now I can get into negatives.
Yeah, I guess, do you want to kick it off, or I don't know if you want to continue the last one you were on.
I just didn't like that scene. It was so and I just didn't like it at all. The whole like, we're Spooner. No. The fact that their names are Sunny and Spooner are really too close to me. But when Sunny throws the little vial that's supposed to that has the nanites in it to stop Vicky, the supercomputer AI, from taking over the world fully, and he like throws it and catches it in midair, but like falls basically to his death, but kind of catches himself on his robot arm. That was too much. That was too much. I was like, that was Fast and Furious level nonsense right there.
Yeah, he's like hanging on to that light stream as he falls.
I was like, that's not a surface. Oh, that was too much for me. Oof.
Yeah. I guess for me, I did say I liked the idea of it, but I thought the plot was a little bit convoluted at times. I guess for one, I thought the whole like suicide framing at the beginning was like, it worked for the movie, but it was very much like a lot of things had to happen for this to make sense in the movie, which for me was a little bit, I had to make too many jumps of like, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Had to make like one or two too many jumps for me to get my head around that idea.
Because how they frame it is that like apparently the scientist guy who commits suicide realizes that his artificial intelligence that he created, Vicky, is getting too strong. And rather than like just shutting her down himself, because apparently she would stop him, he decides instead to create a robot and then have that robot go against the main robot creed of not destroy humans and have him promise to kill him. And then he has this little hologram go up because he knows that Will Smith's character is suspicious of robots. And that'll then let him go to the plot.
So it was a bit of a sweat to get around the like start of this movie. Just like, okay, these things happen. And I guess while we're on the top, I thought the 3 rules, I didn't realize they were a universal thing, but it seems like just like a mechanism for loopholes, you know?
Yeah. It is a mechanism for loopholes. That's why things always go wrong in robot movies.
Yeah. And then I guess the final like slightly convoluted. I didn't really get why the revolution started. Like I understood like they explained it to be that the robots thought like, oh, humans will eventually tear themselves apart, so we have to do the uprising. But when I was watching it, that's not what I thought was happening. I guess like what I thought was happening was once they like killed Sonny, there became some like circular logic where now all robots can be considered bad. So now robots have to like do some internal. Like I thought that's what was happening, and that's why like the robots were fighting each other and like the revolution scene just confused me a little bit until they explained it. I guess.
It was a confusing. I'm trying to like think about how I could explain it, but I don't think I can either.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because it was very confusing, and a thing that people. This is why I don't like sci-fi that much, especially robot movies. This one was. We're gonna get into ratings, but like this one was. But I don't like how like because the rules are there, similar to how I don't like horror movies where it's like okay, like Candyman for example. It's like the one thing you need to do to not have him show up is not say his name in the mirror. So it's like okay. Yeah. But then in sci-fi robot movies, people always decide, oh, wouldn't these robots be better with if they were a little more human? And then they start adding human fallacy into a machine, and it's like, don't do that. It always ends up terrible. Like the NC 40 or 4,
5 or 4 or 5.
4, the one before 5. For that, those robots were perfect more or less because they just like were robots doing robot things. Then they were like, I wanted to teach him emotion, and I'm like. But why? It's a robot. And once you start teaching them emotion, then they're going to start, like, questioning the rules. And since the rules are not to destroy you, don't you want people to not question that rule? Like, come on.
Yep. Yeah. No, yeah. It's weird to say that, like, they, like, purposely built one. Hey, here's a regular robot, but instead of, like, it just being regular, now we give you this little switch that lets you ignore the 3 rules that you, like, found everything on and people trust, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that the revolution scene just I didn't understand why it was happening at that moment. Like I thought it was because once they killed a robot, they kind of like avoided all the rules, and now it's a free for all because now like no robot's safe anyway. So like there's no longer that consequence in the robot brain of like, oh, I have to protect humans. It's like if I can't protect humans from myself, I might as well do whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But that was just me, and apparently that's not what happened in the movie. So
yeah,
it's a little disappointing for me.
I also wish they kind of explained how Vicky circumvented her controls.
Yeah.
Because they kind of just did it like, it was you the whole time. And it's like, I don't understand how, though. I could just be dumb. Because, like I said, I don't watch these types of movies ever, really. But I was like, how did she circumvent her controls to be like, well, to ensure the protection of all humans, some humans have to be able to die. And it's like, how did she get that aspect to her? Yeah. I don't know how that happened without a scientist doing it, and it seemed like the scientist was confused as to how she got it too. And I don't like when all of us are confused in the movie. Like you in the movie need to at least know. I can be confused, but you can't be.
Yeah. No, I definitely get that because I don't know. Yeah. I guess the other thing. Maybe this is a small thing. Maybe it was a big thing for me. I don't even know anymore. I just hate how they kept like gaslighting him. Like I understand he was like that crazy scientist in the beginning, but like after the car crash, I was like, all right, you gotta like believe something's happening here, you know? Like even when he had all the robots lined up and one like ran off, and the scientist girl was like, no, trust him. He probably knew it. I'm like, come on, like these are killer robots, you know? But like on the flip side, I didn't think there was enough killer robots in this one. I would have liked a little more. And then again, like I just didn't like how they didn't believe in there seemed to be just no surveillance in this movie, which like I guess like I feel like there's surveillance now, but like I assume in a society of all robots, there's okay. Like I know Vicky had her system that was corrupted during like the actual crime, but like that car scene in the tunnel,
didn't she corrupt it?
I know she corrupted that specific thing. Was she just corrupting everything the whole time, I guess? Because, like, why did no one see that car incident? Was she in control of that, too, or...?
Because in the end, she wasn't in control of all the NC5 or whatever robots to give them all the same, like, humanoid aspects to them. And then, I guess the society just, like, after that, are there just no longer robots now? Are they just all in the junkyard and we're just trusting that they don't uprise again? Because the one with because Sonny's still alive.
Yeah, yeah. And it seemed like the others were just decommissioned, but maybe he is in charge of them now? I don't know. I don't know what happened there at the end.
But is he the responsibility? What if he gets tired of that and just... And also, humans got so used to robots, like, in their cars and, like, everything.
Yeah.
The one robot was, like, getting the woman her purse because she had asthma. Like, do you go back to the previous iteration of robots, or do you just, like, not have robots as a society and then, like, we all have to figure it out now how to just be self-sufficient after having robots for who knows how long?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, yeah, I think that was mostly all I had. Yeah, go ahead.
I have one last, and I think this is a nitpick. Yeah, it is a nitpick. The fact that Spooner hasn't had an ex-wife, that added nothing to me.
Oh,
he would just occasionally make little clips. He has an ex-wife because he talked about it all the time. He'd be like, "That's why my ex-wife. You must be friends with my ex-wife because she said something about his driving."
Oh no, he did joke that. Yeah. Was that a real ex-wife or is that a saying? Is that a joke people say? I didn't know.
Is that a joke people say?
Oh, okay.
But I don't think it's a joke people say. I think he legit had an ex-wife. And that's part of what confused me a little bit in the beginning. Because I was like, oh, is his ex-wife the one that died? And that's why he doesn't trust robots? But no, she's just an alive woman who didn't want to be married to him anymore. And now he's like, just keeps making quips about it all the time. And I'm like, this isn't adding what you think it's adding. Like, if anything, you could like... it just wasn't doing what I thought they thought it was doing, which was annoying. It was just like, oh, you must be friends with my ex-wife because you hate my driving or whatever. Or like, oh, that sounds like something my ex-wife would say. And I'm like, who is this for? What is going on?
Yeah, I thought that was just some joke I didn't hear of. Like I've had like people say like, oh, did we sleep together last night when you don't say good morning or something to them? It's like, I thought it was like one of those things, you know? But yeah. But either way, I wish we did get a little more on Spooner, because we didn't really see much of his, like, I guess we saw, like, his grandmother, or his grandmother, right?
We saw her real quick and then ditched her just as fast.
Yeah, but we really didn't get a lot of, like, other people aside from, you know, Will Smith dealing with the robots in his,
And then Shia LaBeouf, who randomly came back after he saw him once.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, is this a...
Yeah.
Getting ready for Transformers, basically.
Yeah. That's exactly what that was. But, okay, I guess we're ready for ratings on this one?
Yes.
You want to kick it off, or?
Yeah, I can kick it off. I gave this 2.5 out of 5. Overall, it was pretty enjoyable. Some of the sci-fi stuff was a little more confusing to me, mostly because I don't watch sci-fi, I think. It's not my preferred genre, so that's definitely coloring this. And you know what? We never said we were unbiased reviewers, so do with that what you will. But yeah, I wish we could have delved a little bit more into Spooner and kind of like understood the robot who was taking over everything a little bit more. Just because that kind of like popped up and I was like, how did she do that? But overall, it wasn't like a bad movie. Just like not my cup of tea, I don't think.
Yeah, I also gave it a 2.5. Kind of similar reasons. Like, I guess I don't watch a lot of sci-fi movies, but I like to think I like them a little more. But apparently, maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, this one just left. I felt this one just left a lot to be desired. Like, it was definitely a fun movie. It had Will Smith, like pretty easygoing plot, easy to watch. But yeah, there were just like I just felt like left with like a lot of unanswered questions, like minor little kind of like plot holes or like things like that just kind of like stuck with me throughout the movie and just made it like a little more just confusing or less enjoyable. But yeah, like I had like slightly higher expectations for this in terms of like my own enjoyment. But yeah, it was honestly just okay. Like, I think you take Will Smith out, it could have been a real stinker. But,
Will Smith definitely got most of those 2.5 stars.
Yeah, like a lot of that just like, oh, this movie's enjoyable, I'm enjoying it, came from Will Smith. Like the actual like the robot details and stuff like that were just a little you know. And, I'm sure like in the realm of like sci-fi movies it's probably even worse, maybe, I don't know. Like, again, I haven't seen that many, so like, but I assume they could have done better with some of that stuff. But yeah, it was a pretty fun watch overall, I think. Final question, do you wish you saw this one sooner?
No. Again, I'm not a sci-fi person, so no.
Yeah, this is one of those ones I almost wrote yes before even watching it. Then like I started watching it and realized like, oh, I definitely have thrown this on before and fallen asleep within the first 20 minutes. So I don't know if that counts as a yes or no, but we'll say like I tried to watch it earlier, so maybe that's a yes by default. But I didn't make it. I didn't make it. When I tell you, like, I saw the first 20, I was like, oh no, we watched this already. I, like, even checked the channel to see if we already did it, and I was like, then we got, like, past 25 minutes, I was like, okay, no, I definitely watched this on my own in, like, high school and fell asleep. That's what happened here. So, yeah, maybe I wish I finished it early. It honestly didn't make a difference. So, I don't know. But, that was iRobot.
Yes.
Yeah, YouTube housekeeping, like, comment, subscribe.
Ring the bell for notifications. If you have any movie suggestions for us, you can leave them in the comments down below. We do movies on Tuesdays and Fridays. All of our socials will be linked in the description box down below. And I'll see you next time to catch up. Bye. Is the fact that he had a robot arm supposed to be a reveal?
Yeah, that came out of nowhere. Like, absolutely nowhere. I meant to write that down, too. Yeah.
I wrote that down, and then I just never talked about it. But I was like, the fact that Speeder was part robot was a weird reveal that I felt
yeah, that was one of those, like, huh? Like, okay.
Because he, like, oh my god, it was after that, after the car crash, and one of the robots was like, and then he was like, huh? He was like,
and he blocked it with his arm, and you just see wires. I was like, what? Yeah, that was definitely one of those from out of nowhere moments.
And then I think how they were trying to explain it was that it came from the car crash, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But
even that was hand wavy because he seemed like he got out of there pretty safe. I don't know. Like, I don't see how he lost the whole arm and lung from that car crash. You know?
I don't either. I don't understand that either. Was he like fighting the robot as it saved him? Well,
yeah, no, I didn't
instead
know.
of the girl, I don't know. It was confused. That's part of why I didn't get the reveal that he had a robot arm because I was like. You didn't, like, fall...
No, I almost missed it, yeah.
Yeah, but it was really weird. And I thought... Maybe I think too much, but I was like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if, like, he has some robot tendencies and that's why he hates robots or something? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or, like... Because it's now part of, like, half his body... Not half fully, but like at least a quarter or a third of his body because it's his lung. And how was that scientist be able to figure that out just by touching him? Like, that's a lung, man. Yeah. Like, how do you know that's a How do you figure that out? Especially because he had the flesh spray, I guess. That doesn't come up again.
Yeah, the flesh spray. I remember that scene, too. That scene threw me off, too. Because I was like, he's a robot. What is this spray doing? You know? Like, yeah, it was... Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah, I forgot that happened. Whew.